Welcome back on Question Time. Coming up next, what's Professor Kingsley Moghalu's perspective on national security? Join us again. You recently announced your choice of running mate,
Yes.
Mrs. Getso Umar from
Getso.
Kano State.
Yes.
37-year-old.
Yes.
Do you think that choice is complementary?
Yes, it is, because it conforms clearly to my vision for the youth of this country, in which I place prime importance.
You don't think you need a core politician to complement your role as a technocrat coming into Nigeria's political threshold?
Not necessarily. We have even core politicians in the YPP as well. So the core politician must not be my running mate. That's the point.
Would it be right to say you are running a team with no political experience?
That's not true. Our party is made up of a lot of people who are both new politicians and seasoned politicians. That's
now the absence of political experience in the TAC team is what might raise some anxiety amongst Nigerians.
Let me tell you, what anxiety? Are people anxious that we do not include in our team the people who have made them poor for 60 years? Why should anybody be anxious?
Right now, there have been wave of killings, wave of violence around the country.
Yes.
How do you intend to stop this?
Good. I will stop the insecurity in this country and restore security, which is the #1 job of any government, the protection of the lives and property of the citizens. And the APC government has clearly failed. Nigeria has become a killing field. Here's what I'm going to do as president come 2019. #1, I have a much better understanding of national security. National security, and I will bring this to my leadership as president, national security is a complex thing. It's not just a single track, one-minded focus on Boko Haram. That cannot work, because as we have seen, first of all, you have not defeated Boko Haram. Secondly, we have the herdsmen.
Well, the federal government is saying that it has been highly decimated.
No, propaganda claims are different from the reality. They changed their defeat. They claim that they will defeat Boko Haram to technically defeated. Please understand the propaganda implication there, but let's not dwell on that. We have herdsmen roaming Nigeria, killing a lot of innocent Nigerian citizens. We have, kidnappers. We have armed robbers. We have the very, very massive descent into poverty. Nigeria has become the poverty capital of the world. These are national security issues.
The question is,
that's why.
How would you stop
I have told you.
The killing?
I have told you. When you professionalize the leadership of national security, when you will do what I'm going to do, which is to improve the security of Nigeria's borders, you will secure Nigeria. And finally, I am going to create a modern 1.5 million police force for Nigeria, equipped, trained, recruited in 4 years.
Now, when you talk of all these reforms you're bringing into Nigeria's national security apparatus, you've forgotten that the challenge of funding is staring at the face.
Absolutely, I know.
How do you intend to generate funds?
Yes.
Are you also going on a borrowing spree that might be throwing Nigeria's economy into another quagmire?
The reason I'm running for president is to retire President Muhammadu Buhari. And one of the things that is making me mad about his failure is the fact that he is putting future generations of Nigerian youth into debt. So we will not. In fact, there will be a moratorium.
How do you equip?
We're wasting about ₦1 trillion a year on petroleum subsidy. My presidency will abolish petroleum subsidy, clearly. That will save us about ₦1 trillion a year. Do you know how much money that is? That can do a lot of things for reforming the police force and our security apparatus. It can do a lot of things for our healthcare. It can do a lot of things for the educational system. So that's #1. And we will deregulate the downstream
when you abolish
industry.
petroleum subsidy, how do you sustain the domestic consumption in the country?
What is the subsidy doing for you? Who are the people that the subsidy is working for? How many poor people in your village are enjoying petroleum subsidy?
Are you suggesting you are going to increase the price of
Buhari has
PMS.
already increased it. Buhari increased the price of PMS by a whopping 70%.
So how do you sustain domestic consumption without subsidy?
Listen. When you remove the subsidy and deregulate the downstream petroleum industry, removing the heavy hand of government, which is creating a lot of blockages and leakages and corruption, the law of the marketplace, prices will find their natural level. If many people are supplying that need, it becomes a competitive economy and a competitive market. The prices will crash.
The government and the organized labor has been enmeshed in a long-drawn debacle over the demand
Minimum
for 30,000 naira
Yes.
minimum wage. In your own estimates, what do you think Nigeria's minimum wage should be? And if you become Nigeria's president, what would you propose as Nigeria's minimum wage?
Yes, good. First of all, I stand with labor on this issue of the minimum wage at about 30,000. In fact, I propose anything between 30,000 and 40,000, about 36,000. That's my proposal. There are a number of things that determine the minimum wage. One is ability to pay. Two is the question of inflationary impact of a wrong move or a wrong decision, which will wipe away the value of the so-called increase. So you don't want to do that by having a minimum wage of 60, 70, 80,000, I know. So because it's not sustainable, that's the point. Not that there's anything wrong with Nigerians earning as much money as possible. Now, the reason why the government is having a problem with the 30,000 naira minimum wage level that Labour is proposing is because of corruption in governance in this country. There's so much money in this country, but our politicians who have established a political industrial complex, making politics the biggest business in Nigeria, they're feeding off our resources, and they're not interested in investing in our people and our workers.
You talk about the governors now.
They're wasting our money.
Permit me to just put you on the,
wasting it on fuel
the
subsidy.
spot.
Yes.
To see how independent your views are. Because the governors are saying that they would also love to pay this 30,000 naira minimum wage.
Yes.
But they are not just able.
Do you know how many special assistants? Do you know how many hundreds of special assistants that these governors have?
The Nigerian labor is saying that if you can't pay this money, resign. And the governors are also suggesting that okay, if they are to pay the 30,000 naira minimum wage, there will be mass retrenchment, or the federal government should review the revenue sharing formula to the states.
Yes.
Now, looking at these two options, mass retrenchment or revenue sharing formula.
Yes.
What do you see? What do you make of this proposal?
Our politicians are lazy and corrupt. That is why they're claiming they cannot pay the minimum wage. They can pay it. Many of them have 300, 500 special assistants and personal assistants to special assistants. Is that what you should be spending the money on? Instead of paying a proper minimum wage and moving Nigerian workers out of poverty.
Do you agree with me that any presidential campaign in a country like Nigeria would need mass publicity?
Yes.
A robust campaign?
Oh, sure.
How do you intend to generate the funds? Where would your funds for this bid be coming from?
Good. Now, our funds will come from a number of things. There are people who are supporting us, friends, members of the public. Some of them are even supporting us already because they believe in the vision. I don't have to have stolen government funds like the APC and the PDP politicians in order to be able to win an election. You are going to see a people's democratic revolution in 2019.
Now, when you talk of the funds coming from an ordinary Nigerians, you've not created a funding structure
who told you?
In terms of people knowing your account details,
who told you?
Or a bank account where people could send such.
We have it on our websites. We have put out these things on websites.
Okay. Before we wind down this conversation now, would you be open for political debates?
Of course. Bring it on. I've challenged President Buhari to a political debate. And I told him in setting out my challenge, please don't send Vice President Osinbajo, because that's not the right thing to do. Vice President Osinbajo should be debating with vice presidential candidates. That's what he should be doing in a civilized society. President Buhari should be debating with me and other presidential candidates. But he will not show up for this debate.
No, you're assuming.
I'm assuming. Oh, that would be the biggest shock and surprise of my life. And if he does, I will say, I'm sorry, I got you wrong. Welcome to the debate.
The presidential candidate of the Young Progressive Party and the former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Kingsley Moghalu, thank you so much for making our time to be part of this episode. Thank you very much indeed. We wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you.
And that'll be all on this episode of Question Time from Channels TV's global headquarters. You can send us a comment on our social media platforms showing right on your screen. Join us next week on a fresh episode of the show. Many thanks for watching. I'm Benga Ashuru. Bye for now.